Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. In this video, our group will be talking about randomness error, which is one of the common biases in decision making. So what exactly is a randomness error? Randomness error happens when people believe they can find patterns or meaning in random event, when no real pattern actually exists. In other words, our mind tries to make sense of chaos by connecting things that are purely coincidental. For example, someone might think they are lucky because they always wear a certain shirt when they win a game. Or a manager might believe that a worker who performed well once will always perform well, even if it's just by chance. This kind of thinking can lead to poor decision because it is based on false assumptions rather than real evidence.
Now let's talk about why this randomness error happens. The reason is that our brain is naturally wired to look for patterns. From an evolutionary standpoint, humans were able to survive because of this capacity. For instance, our previous generation had to identify weather patterns or animal footprints for them to keep safe. As a result, the human brain is now highly adept at making connections. Looking for patterns in seems random situations can cause us to think incorrectly in today's society. In reality, not everything we observe reflects a pattern. However, we frequently assume that there is an explanation behind seems random event, such as stock price or employee performance. This leads to what psychologists refer to as a delusions that we can affect or predict events that are truly random. It is strongly related to randomness error since both make us assume that we may find meaning where there is none.
To understand randomness error better, let's look at a few simple examples from work and sports. At work, a manager might think that an employee who did a great job for a few weeks will always perform well. The manager may not realize that the good results could just happen by chance or because of temporary factors. This shows how randomness error can make people judge others wrongly. Second example is in sports. We often see this when fans believe that a player who scores many times in a row is on a lucky streak and will keep winning. But sometimes that performance just happens by luck or normal changes in the game. People see a pattern when there is actually none. These examples shows how easily our minds try to find meaning in random events. To make better decisions, we should be careful not to depend on luck or coincidence. Instead, we need to look at the real facts, data, and consistent performance before making any conclusion.
Next, we're going to see what are the effects of randomness error. Firstly, it can cause poor decision making. Randomness error causes managers and employees to make decisions based on perceived but non-existent patterns. Instead of analyzing data objectively, they rely on superstition, coincidence, and gut feelings. When people believe random events have meaning, they often ignore factual evidence or fail to identify real causes and effects. For example, a sales manager may believe hiring younger employees always increases sales simply because maybe the last two recruits that were young performed well, but in reality, their success might have been due to external reasons, market conditions, or better training. Next is the misinterpretation of performance. Randomness error makes people attribute success or failure to luck, fate, and chance instead of actual performance. This distorts how employees view their own abilities and efforts. When success is seen as a result of luck, employees may feel they have little control over outcomes, which is a phenomenon linked to low self-efficacy. For instance, if an employee closes a big deal, they might say, I got lucky that the client liked me, instead of recognizing their preparation and communication skills. Last but not least is it can cause bias in evaluations and judgments. Where randomness error influences perceptions, managers may unfairly evaluate employees based on isolated or coincidental events. They see patterns in random occurrences and form biased opinions. For example, if two of an employee's project happen to fail due to uncontrollable factors, the managers might believe that the employee is unlucky or ineffective even if the employee's overall record is strong. Employees who feel wrongly judged may become demotivated and disengaged, increasing turnover rates and reducing team trust.
So, how to avoid from randomness error in decision making? Firstly, by structure your judgment tasks to ensure you and everyone involved in the process and considering the same fact. Second is by gather more data to reduce the impact of error. For example, when doing some research, we have to find more samples to make the research more reliable. So third is by seeking diverse perspective from different people, so you could have more viewpoints or alternative perspective on the decision-making process.
In conclusion, our brains are naturally wired to look for patterns. It is a survival mechanism that helps us make sense of complex information. But in modern settings, like organizations or sport, this tendency can backfire. We might see patterns that aren't really there, leading to poor decisions, misjudging performance, or forming biased evaluations. The good news is we can manage this by structuring our judgment process so everyone has the same facts, collecting more data before deciding, and actively seeking diverse perspective, and we can reduce bias and improve the fairness and accuracy of our decisions. Recognizing is the tendency is the first step toward better thinking and better result. Thank you.